Welcome back to my show, Writing with Fire, where we learn all sorts of tips on how to improve our writing and really just get writing and how to polish our work. This will really separate us from the majority of the pack. So when it comes time to finishing a novel and you're trying to get someone to publish it or someone to represent it or to buy it, this is what's going to improve your writing and really set you apart and put you in with the better writers out there in the world. Um, so what I want to talk about today, this one's a real biggie: passive voice. We don't want a passive voice to come across in our writing. It comes off very weak. It comes off like the writer doesn't know what he's talking about. So, like a lot of times how we talk, how we word, well, like I did this, like I did that, like try to avoid like words like I'm saying a lot now. So I've actually tried to improve my own vocabulary when I'm talking to people. I want to avoid sounding passive myself. Speak with confidence. The only person that knows what's going on in your novel is you, the writer, the author. So, put down like, well, something was kind of wrong here, or um, I'm trying to use some better examples. Just uh, well, this was pretty ugly, or this somewhat disorientated. No, or this was disorientating, or just cut out those passive verbs. Let me give you some better examples. Uh, so we're going to talk about the active voice and active verbs. And active voice verbs in the active voice indicate that the subject is performing the action. The passive voice verbs in the passive voice indicate that the subject is having something done to it. The subject is inactive. So here's some good examples. Um, the the book is being read by Crystal. That is a passive verb. So nothing's being done to Crystal. It's the book is being read. The correction, the better way to have it is Crystal reads the book. To see how better that is, Crystal reads the book versus the book is being read by Crystal. Um, so the rule is avoid the writing wordy sentences by using active verbs. Many times you can spot a passive verb by finding a to be verb: is, was, are, were, followed by a present or past participle verb ending in ing or ed. A lot of times I'll look for those words that end in the ing or the ed. That can help me identify where some of my problem spots are. So here's some more examples. The play was rated by the Dayton Daily News to be one of the top plays of last year's season. That would be the error. The play was rated. So the correction would be the Dayton Daily News rated the play to be one of the best. So you switch it around now. The Daily Dayton News rated it instead of the play being rated. Another good example is the class was taught by an expert in foreign affairs, so presentations done by students were graded accurately. This is very wordy. Note how was accompanies the past tense of the first verb, and note how done is still passive voice, despite the lack of helping verb. The correction would be an expert in foreign affairs taught the course and graded students' presentations accurately. So as we continue to writing, when you get to that point when you are working with an editor, these are some of the first things that will pop up, and they'll point them out to you to get those corrected. And sometimes like switching some words around and wording things and cutting things down. Like, let's see if I can think of something. Joe was running after the villain and turned the corner, ran down to the end of the street, and jumped over the fence. You could cut that down to like John sprinted, turned the corner, and ran to the end of the street where he leapt over a fence. Something like that just cuts it down, gets the action a lot quicker. Uh, it helps keep movement in the story, and it just is worded a lot better. Um, Sometimes when I'm talking on the fly, I don't know if that's always the best example, but I think hopefully you get the idea. The other thing I want to talk about uh, is our tags. What a tag is after a dialogue, after somebody says something, you got the quotation marks, you put the comma, or put the comma in the quotation marks, and then said, you know, like for instance, uh, I am really confused, John said. And what I want you to remember is when you put it, so that's a tag, and what you want to do on that tag is always use said. Um, I know it sounds like it's like blah or boring, and sometimes it is, and you don't want to use it too much, but you don't want to use too many of these, wild things like I am confused, John exasperated, or you know, words like that. Tag it with just said. Be simple, keep it clean. Here's another thing you can do that you want to break it up with is instead of using that tag, use a different tag, which is uh, describing what the character is doing. For instance, I am really confused. John wrinkled his brow. So at that point, what you do is, well, I am really confused, period, the quotation mark, and then John wrinkled his brow. And by tagging it that way, that's letting the reader know, oh, that was John that said that. And you didn't have to put down that John said that. It's very easy to realize that's what John said. Versus, you know, I am really confused, comma, quotation marks, John said. Both are fine, and both are really easy to use. Just remember, sometimes when you're reading a lot of dialogue and you're saying he said, she said, it gets a little overdone. So you want to break that up. The other thing is if two people are in a conversation, it's going back and forth, you don't have to tag everything. Let that conversation flow. Start it with like, hey, Rebecca, what the hell are you doing? Comma, quotation marks, John said. Well, I'm just running around with my head cut off, comma, quotation mark, Rebecca, said. And then from then on, John could say something, Rebecca back and forth. You don't have to necessarily put John said, Rebecca said, John said, Rebecca said, because that's going to break up that conversation too much. You want it to flow. So remember those kind of things. And every now and again, put something in there like, uh, like Rebecca just, maybe she, you are just pissing me off so much, period, quotation marks. Rebecca just threw her hands up in the air, something like that. Uh, so hopefully those things you can keep in mind, the tags, tagging your dialogue, using those passive verbs. Go ahead and Google, because that's what I do all the time. Go ahead and Google out there passive words not to use in writing, and you'll get all sorts of examples. You get all sorts of rules, a lot better, uh, something that you can follow um, when you're writing. It's also something that, after you're done writing, you can go back, you can look at that, and then when you're going back and you're rewriting and editing, you'll find a lot there. And it's a lot of work when it's your first novel, and you're going to make a lot of errors like that, and that's okay. It's just going to make a lot of work at the end going through and editing things. Hopefully, you can kind of nip it in the butt first, and kind of as you're writing, remember those things and fix it that way. A lot of times, it might not work that easy, and you might have to just edit it all at the end, and that's totally fine. And as you continue writing, and you write the next book and the next book and the next story, every time you do, you get better and you get better, and editing will be a lot easier. Hopefully, I'll get to that point too. Editing always seems to be a pretty good daunting task, but it just makes the book and the writing so much better when you have a professional editor looking at that and helping guide you on how to reword things or how to change things up and how to really shine your story. So hopefully that helps you in your writing, and hopefully you're still writing. Try to write a little bit every day. If you don't write, you lose it. I think Ray Bradbury said something like that. Um, but I do believe that you'll always try and get some writing in there at least every week. If you can't do it every day, get a little bit of something done every now and again. Keep things alive. Have fun with writing and enjoy yourselves. And feel free to message me if you have something you want me to look at. I'd be more than willing to look at it and give some tips and ideas and any help that I can do. Well, I sure appreciate you checking in. Remember, if you have not subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. I would love that. The more followers, the better. And have a very great writing day and enjoy yourselves. Thank you.